Fantasy Football Podcast. We've got a third person on our podcast today. We have one of our previous hosts returning. He's been on a long hiatus, but we can welcome back John Rumney.
Thank you for the welcome back.
This is the return of Rumney episode.
Yes.
We're going to be covering a lot of the news and notes going on in the league. We'll be rapid fire of the NFC North, just part of the divisional breakdown that we've been doing. It's going to be more of a rapid fire episode just because the time it takes to do those episodes, I just have not had the time to sit there for several hours and put it all together. And we're going to be throwing in a mock draft because it's August. Fantasy drafts will be happening in 3 to 4 weeks. And it'll be fun to just go through it and see where picks go.
Let's do it.
So, as our typical intro, I'm your monotone master. Brian's our fantasy foreseer. We've got the return of the Raging Rumney.
The Raging Rumney, I like it.
Yeah. We're also new on other platforms as well. We are an official podcast. We are not just on YouTube. You can now find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as the Why You're Wrong Fantasy Football Podcast. And just to finally get it out, you can also get us on social media on TikTok and Instagram as Why You're Wrong FFB and on Twitter as You're Wrong FFB. But enough from me. Is there any impactful news you guys just want to throw out before I kind of dive into what I have scheduled for us?
I want to preface this episode by saying thank you for welcoming me back. I feel welcome. The reason I took a long hiatus is because I don't think about fantasy football from, February until August 5th. So here I am today. You're seeing me in my Ross form. I do not know anything about football, but I'm going to go from zero to hero by week 1, and then hero to champion by the end of the year.
Sounds like a last place team to me, but I'm glad you could clarify.
I'm just saying I won last year. I'm going to win again, and this is just, it happens every year. It's a cycle, so I can't wait for the listeners to see the full cycle, and yeah.
I'll see you in 12th. Got it.
Speaking of a battle going on right now, Broncos positional battles. We all know that Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock are still battling for who's going to be quarterback 1 going into the season. But at the moment, it's kind of split on the running backs. Some beat reporters are saying Melvin Gordon is the starter for the year, and others are saying Javonte Williams is looking really strong in camp and might take over. How do you guys feel about that?
Does it matter? That's my question. Does it actually matter who the Broncos running backs are? Because both of them are just not productive in both ways. I mean, Philip Lindsay was a runner there. They always use like 4 backs every time in the Broncos offense. Not to think about game script too at the same time that the Broncos are already playing from behind. So are the running backs even valuable there? Probably not. So I'm staying away from them, but I guess if you had to choose one, I mean, Melvin Gordon's probably the safer option.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Melvin Gordon for the first half of the year. If you want to pick Javonte Williams as a sleeper and then stash him for the second half of the year, I do see the Broncos offense kind of exploding this year. I do. I believe
the receivers are good.
Exactly, they've got good receivers. They've got up and coming players throughout the offense, and overall they're still a run team in my opinion.
Yeah,
so,
but they do play from behind because they're always losing games, which forces them to pass the ball.
Correct, but it's a new season, Brian.
It's fair enough.
Right now, both those guys are in the mid-rounds of fantasy drafts. The thing is, Melvin Gordon did finish as running back 13 last year in the same sort of terrible Broncos offensive situation, so there is value there if you're looking for an RB2 in the later rounds, but now it's just the decision of who's it going to be for the season, or do you want to take the risk of one going to the other? Another running back battle that we really have to pay attention to, and the smart fantasy managers will avoid both of these players in drafts, but right now the Jaguars running backs, Travis Etienne and James Robinson, are splitting carries with the ones.
I've been seeing on TikTok a lot of these. So, I mean, ever since I started this podcast and doing all this fantasy stuff, I've been seeing on TikTok a lot of people are saying take Travis Etienne because he is going to win you championships. And I still don't understand why people are saying that, considering, well, I do understand why, but James Robinson was an absolute stud in his rookie season. I mean, I get the whole Etienne and Trevor Lawrence connecting and reuniting, and they're comparing Etienne to Alvin Kamara. I mean, he's got a pretty high Madden rating too. I just don't see where Etienne is going to win you a championship when James Robinson's still on that roster.
Just things like the skill and talent is there. It's just I don't know where the volume is going to be, and given the fact that he's sitting in the 5th and 6th round when there's still plenty of other valuable players there, if Travis Etienne was more towards the 7th and 8th, then maybe I could see myself taking a flyer on him. It's just he's too high in ADP for me to take that risk, just knowing that basically the volume's not going to go to one or the other for the majority of the season.
Yeah. Where was Etienne drafted? Sorry, this is the first time I've heard of him.
Travis Etienne was the second running back off the board, drafted in the late first round by the Jaguars.
Yeah, they're both
Played-
22 years old.
Played for
He's-
Clemson. He played with Trevor Lawrence, so Trevor Lawrence and Etienne were both drafted in the first round.
Oh,
by the
I see.
Jaguars.
I see the draw here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why he's being hyped up as this could win you a fantasy championship. However, James Robinson also did just have a record-breaking rookie season. So
Interesting.
It's basically the Jaguars said, we already have
take
this
that as you will.
free spot on our team of already having a good running back. So in the first round, we will take another running back.
I
So
think they
that's-
just want the chemistry, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Chemistry and the kind of the 1-2 punch. I mean, all the good teams have
If one-
1-2 punch
yeah.
at the running
If
back
one thing
position.
fails, you just go to the next guy.
I think it's also given that the Jaguars, they don't have a true safety blanket on their team. So Travis Etienne will be the dump-off safety blanket for Trevor Lawrence.
Fair point.
Another big injury-related news, just giant expectations are falling short. Kenny Golladay limps off the practice field with a hamstring injury. Same injury he had last year right before the season started. The initial reports are positive. Same injury as last year, as I mentioned. But the Giants have come out and said he will be missing 2 to 3 weeks of practice.
You still drafting him?
After this news, after hearing that's going to be 2 to 3 weeks of missing practice, I am very bullish.
Guys,
on
we
Kenny
know
Golladay.
the drill on Kenny Galladay.
Thank you.
This
He
happens
did.
every
He does
year.
it. He does it.
Like, how many times can you bang your head up against the wall expecting a different result? The man's always hurt, guys.
That's what I'm saying. I trusted him last year. I put way too much faith in him. Thought he wasn't going to be injured. Now I've lost all hope in him. He's hurt the same hamstring that he hurt last year, and he's going to come back and he's going to hurt it again, and he's going to be out for 8 weeks. And Sterling Shepard's going to be this wide receiver 35 that no one likes to have, but have him on the bench, drops 13 every now and then. It's like it's just a whole cycle that keeps coming around with Kenny Golladay, and I just don't believe him.
It's exhausting. If you wanna keep him on your roster and have him play 4 weeks, be my guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out on him now. Now that it's a 2 to 3 week injury with his hamstring, I know what that's going to lead to. But also, when you look at Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton, they basically each had 20% of the target share and did absolutely nothing with it. So I'm just out on basically every single Giant at the moment.
Yeah, I don't believe in Daniel Jones, and especially since we don't know when Barkley's going to play too. It's that offense is just a nightmare.
See,
Probably the worst team, one of the worst teams in the NFC.
Daniel Jones is starting at the bottom of a pile of players that fell on top of him after they were fighting in Giants practice.
Yeah, and you try to credit them saying that it was just a competitive mindset from his players, when in reality, there's no reason he should be at the bottom of the pile in the training camp.
Another no reason thing. Chris Hogan and Devontae Freeman both signed with the Saints, who are trying to figure out how to just put players around their
I
offense.
thought Chris Hogan was playing lacrosse.
He was playing lacrosse for the Boston Cannons, making probably about $30,000 a year. In the
I'm pretty sure he wasn't playing too. Like, he wasn't that good at lacrosse.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and now
I
he's
think
like,
it was
I gotta
like
come back to football.
he played in college, so the Cannons were like, "We need a Super Bowl champion on this team," and the Saints said, "We need you because we have no one."
Gatsby, big sleeper this year. Chris Hogan, take him when you can.
Yep, first round.
First round.
Something we haven't discussed on the show yet, but it's been circling football circuits, is Carson Wentz that have surgery on his foot will miss 5 to 12 weeks, which just basically deflates all hope that the Colts had of having good offense this year.
The return of Andrew Luck? Question mark? Is that going to be the title of this podcast?
That'd be nice.
I think there'd be two things that'd be hilarious is, as we know, the news story of Philip Rivers saying he might think about coming back to football is an open door. I think that's really funny.
Nick Foles.
Or I think, if the Colts traded for Nick Foles, who's now just a roster clog on the Bears, I think that'd be the most hilarious thing. Just
Carson Wentz will forever live under Nick Foles if he comes and the Colts end up making the playoffs.
Also, there's all-pro guard Quentin Nelson will miss the same amount of time with the same injury to the same bone in the same foot, but he believes he'll be back in 5 weeks for week 1. So I think it'd be same injury. One will be back in 5 weeks, another will be back in 12 weeks.
I mean, that just goes to show Carson Wentz for you.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a football player.
He's just a injury-prone player who sometimes plays and almost wins Super Bowls and MVPs, but falls short of it
One time.
one time.
Another headliner right now, I want you guys to really just dive into this. Niners GM John Lynch says Trey Lance is bringing out the best in Jimmy Garoppolo right now. I feel like that's a far cry of saying, please trade for Jimmy Garoppolo because we just want to start Trey Lance.
Did you see Shanahan call out Trey Lance or whatever? Trey Lance apparently, so they keep track of how much tape they watch from all the players. and Trey Lance is apparently number 1 in minutes per watching on the tapes. And Shanahan called him out, tried to keep him humble, and was like, yeah, I hope he's actually watching them and not leaving it just like on recorder and letting the time run out. And that's why he's number 1. And everyone's like, why are you calling out your star quarterback like that? You should probably be, encouraging him to be like, yeah, you're doing a good job watching all these minutes. But
no, you call him out.
But it would be funny if he was actually doing that.
He could be.
He could be. It would be like, I forget who the quarterback was who got caught doing that in the past.
Who is the quarterback that
Jamarcus Russell?
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah. That's they put like $100 in the back of the playbook. He was like, "Yeah, I read the whole playbook."
And they were like, "No, you didn't."
Or was they sent him different tapes and they asked him what he watched the night before, and it was just completely different than what they sent him.
Yeah.
No wonder why he sucked.
Yeah.
So take away from this, you better hope your fantasy players are watching their tapes.
Yeah.
I do think Trey Lance is good though. That's another point. So get Garoppolo out there, put in Trey Lance because he will run that team.
Some more news about your guy. Matthew Stafford has injured his thumb on his throwing hand, which was the same injury to last year. No noticeable damage to his ligaments, but how do you feel about him hitting his hand on a helmet?
He dislocated his shoulder in a game, came in and threw a game-winning touchdown. His
not
thumb
worried. Yeah,
being injured, I am not worried.
No, not even close. He plays regardless of pain.
He's the toughest, one of the toughest quarterbacks out there.
Mm-hmm.
He is basically the Brett Favre of this generation. Doesn't matter what injury he has, he'll play through it if he can.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
One last note about the Rams right now is Sean McVay has said Darrell Henderson is an every down back. It's not talent that's the issue. It's just the physical ability to be on the field.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't get hurt then and he can take a beating, then he's an every down back, but the talent isn't there. We all know that.
It's tough. I mean, Darrell Henderson's not any guy you can really trust, every down. But, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, if he's the RB1 getting 20 carries, like, someone's going to roster him. He could have potential in a good Rams offense. I don't know.
No, I'm out on the Rams offense this year.
Really?
Interesting. Please tell us why you're out on the Rams offense.
Why? I'm kind of curious as to why you're out on the Rams offense as well.
They got a better
one of the
quarterback.
best teams in the NFC, and you're just downgrading them. So
enlighten us. Yeah. So you guys are gonna see my inexperience is showing, and I thought Jared Goff was still on the Rams.
No, Matthew Stafford is.
Stafford's
on to the next.
Okay. All right. So there are some other camp injuries to be aware of. These guys are just been put on the injury list. They're not really missing significant time. They're just dealing with minor injuries, but might be something you want to pay attention to just in case it becomes an ongoing problem the next week and a half. We have AJ Green dealing with an injury, James Conner, Emmanuel Sanders. Tariq Cohen is still several weeks out from playing. Mari Cooper is dealing with an ankle injury. Cortland Sutton is dealing with a knee injury, still participating in drills though. DeAndre Swift is dealing with something. Darren Waller has missed 2 practices. Dell Henderson is out at the moment. Devonta Smith will miss the beginning of the season with an injury. Eric Ebron and Pat Freiermuth, the tight ends for the Steelers, both dealing with some minor injuries. O.J. Howard, tight end for the Buccaneers, is also dealing with an injury. And then at the bottom of our list, Curtis Samuel is trying to sit out and get healthy right before the season.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of them, I mean, it's still early in training camp, so they're probably not trying to wear and tear most of these guys and saying they got these injuries, but in reality, they're probably going to be good to go for week 1.
Yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't worry about it.
Cohen.
Right. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And even if you love Tariq Cohen, still draft him. I mean, he's going to play early in the season anyways. In the first few weeks of the season aren't always that important, in my opinion.
All those David Montgomery lovers, they're going to keep drafting him higher and higher and higher, leaving some of the better players to the rest of us.
He brought me to the championship last year. I would marry David Montgomery if I could.
Enough. All right. Hope they can play the Lions every week, though.
That'd be nice. Be pretty useful. All right, boys, so that wraps up our news and notes at the moment, and we're going to get ready to rapid fire with the NFC North. So I'm glad Aaron Rodgers decided to come back to the Packers before we even touched the NFC North, just throwing that out there. But for rapid fire, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have the time to do deep dives as we've done for the past few divisions. So this is just going to be going through ADP of each fantasy relevant player. I want you to basically tell me if it's a steal, if it's fairly priced, or if they're overpriced, or just don't even draft them at all, where they're going. Basically, I mocked these guys as a 10-team half PPR format to just kind of keep the numbers easy. So if I say the 201, that's the second round, and the first pick, which is basically the 11th pick overall. So the Green Bay Packers, quarterback Aaron Rodgers, running backs we got Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, wide receivers we have Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, MVS, and tight end Robert Tonyan. So quarterback Aaron Rodgers finished as the quarterback 3 last year. He's going 707 as the quarterback 8. How do you get? Is he a steal? Is he fair? Or is he overdrafted?
I think that's fair for where he's going. I mean, me personally, I like to take my quarterbacks later than usual. I mean, I took Josh Allen last year in all 3 of my leagues as the 8th quarterback ranked. So if I can get a quarterback around 8-7, I mean, yeah, it's worth it. And I think that he's going 7th right now as a quarterback. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, he was MVP last year too. My only concern is that will he tank and absolutely just blow the Packers organization out of the water and just not try, or is he just going to go back to normal Aaron Rodgers? Like, I feel like the risk is a little bit too high there, but I mean, either way, it's Aaron Rodgers. So,
7th round Aaron Rodgers, John. How do you feel? You swing at him, or you leave him behind?
I'm out on Aaron Rodgers this year. All the fiasco this past offseason and everything. I mean, he just got paid, no? Right?
Well, he restructured his contract to get paid and then be able to walk free next year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe he wants to show out this year. It's all about effort level for these
That's
guys.
what I'm saying.
Like,
Yeah,
if they're on a contract year, then I'm so in on them. But if they just got signed, then they could, who knows, they could take 5 games off because they feel like it.
Well,
So
The difference is it's a contract year in the sense where it's like once he's done, he can finally leave. Not like once he's done, he needs to find a new home because he needs money.
he doesn't.
right, but he does want to show out because
Yeah.
of the contract situation. He wants to get paid next year too. So
He doesn't
you know,
hate the team. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that Aaron Rodgers hates the team. He doesn't hate the players. He likes playing for Green Bay. The only problem is that they're getting rid of his best players without even telling him, and it's really just the GM that he just absolutely dreads.
You guys, a little bit of breaking news. Cowboys expect Dak Prescott to be ready for week 1.
Oh, exciting!
Okay.
Yay!
Next player on the list, Aaron Jones, running back 5 last year, going at the 201, so he's the first pick of the 2nd round as the running back 9. Is he a steal? Is he fair? Or is he
With
overdrafted?
the hype of AJ Dillon,
That's
I just,
fair.
I mean,
No,
it's
that's
fair. I'd like, whatever reason, I'm just not huge on Aaron Jones. He's a beast, like he is, but like with the hype of AJ Dillon, I don't know how much they're going to start using him this year. I mean, Aaron Jones is going to get his no matter what, but you were an Aaron Jones owner, and you know that there's some drives, some quarters that he doesn't even play. Will that continue to lead on this season, and how will that affect him in fantasy?
I think as Aaron Jones gets to fully envelop the role that Jamal Williams stole from him last year, it's going to be the entire passing work. My fear is that A.J. Dillon finds his way into the goal line packages and
That's what I'm
steals 100 yards and 2 touchdowns like he did in my fantasy championship for someone at this table.
Yeah, I mean, I like Aaron Jones. If I have to take him, I'm not going to be upset if I have to draft him, but he's definitely, I'd rather take someone like Eckler.
I mean, you always want the number 1 running back on a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
Not you have to. Take
I mean,
that
he
from-
breaks it. He has huge games. Like Aaron Jones can go for 150 and 3 any day of the week, but there is some games where he gets hurt, and then there's also some games where game script overtakes it and whatnot. Throwing AJ Dillon in there, so I guess it's fair.
I'm fair. You fair?
I'm
For
fair.
AJ Dillon? Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of his handcuff, A.J. Dillon, running back 76 last year. He's going in the 10th round, number 6. Running back 38 off the board. Do you think that's a steal, fair, or is he overpriced?
That's kind of a steal in my opinion. He is one of the top handcuffs. If you're drafting, there are people that draft 4 handcuffs and just solely snag them, like Chris. Chris is a handcuff guy.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, Chris is going to draft AJ Dillon higher than that ADP for sure.
it's like he's in the tier of like the Tony Pollards and
Right.
Madison and those type of guys. And
Better
it was the Mike Davis, I guess, last year.
Yeah,
It
better.
turned out.
Way better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm big on AJ Dillon. I think his talent's there. He's huge. I mean, his
He's the same
quads are
size
really-
as Derrick Henry, basically.
His quads are 3 times the size of my head, so it's like it's kind of terrifying. It's literally his quads are bigger than Saquon Barkley's, which is terrifying to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's messed up.
I'm on the 10th round is fair as well, and even you guys were on steal. So next player, Devontae Adams, wide receiver 1 last year, going at the 202, wide receiver 2.
What's the deal?
You know, he
with him?
averaged 25.5 points per game as a fantasy wide receiver last year.
What's his deal this year though?
He's playing.
He's playing.
He's
It's
playing for the
basically-
Packers.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, take him. Yeah,
the best wide-
yeah, that's what. Yeah.
It's
The best
basically he
wide
didn't
receiver.
when he thought Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to
18
play.
touchdowns,
He didn't
like-
want to play. Now that Aaron Rodgers is playing this year, he's all on board with playing.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I don't even think Devontae Adams has to even be talked about.
Yeah, if any of our listeners don't take him in the first round,
Yeah,
I don't want you listening to this podcast.
Yeah, maybe. So if you get Devontae Adams, maybe that's where you take the Aaron Rodgers later on because you want that
The stack?
the little stack right there. So I mean, that's deadly if you have Rodgers and Devontae Adams. You do not want to be watching a Packers game when you're playing against them.
Oh God, no! Turn it off.
Literally, it could be 7 points in one game.
So options 2 and 3, Allen Lazard, MVS. They're both going undrafted wide receivers, 76 and 110. Lazard being the higher of the two. It's kind of funny that on such a high-powered offense, the number 2 wide receiver is going undrafted in fantasy. I feel like that's fair. Neither of these guys have shown up yet. Aaron Rodgers hasn't picked a number 2. I still think they should be both undrafted until they do something for us.
It's weird because Rodgers spreads the ball around when he's not throwing to Jones or Adams.
Yeah.
So it's like these guys are waiver wire guys with like, if Lazard gets hurt, then you pick up MVS or something.
Yeah, and then they always get MVS has his 2-3 games a year where he has 2 catches for 100 yards and
Right,
2 touchdowns. You're like,
threat.
where did that come from? So, but definitely on the waiver wire.
I'm not drafting either.
No, I will not touch them.
Last guy on the list, Robert Tonyan, tight end 3 last year, going in the 12th round at the 5th pick as the tight end 13. Are you guys stealing Robert Tonyan in the 12th round, or are you leaving him there, or is he kind of a fair price?
That's a steal. Is there another person in the mix, in the tight end mix?
No.
That's a steal.
If I have a low end tight end that I wait on a tight end like later on, get like a Logan Thomas. I mean, I like Logan Thomas this year, but he's going lower than normal for tight ends. Like, I would probably take Robert Tonyan in one of those back end rounds just to secure that tight end spot.
Also, I think he's basically a steal if you go with a late tight end format because he could easily be the number 2 in that system if Rodgers decides it so.
I mean, he was a tight end 3, which is crazy.
Moving on to the next team, Minnesota Vikings quarterback. We got Kirk Cousins. Our running backs are Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Chad Beebe, and tight end Irv Smith. Kirk Cousins, quarterback 11 last year, practically going undrafted. Do you guys think he should be? I feel like he's just left in the stream at this point.
It's just a streamer. It's like if you don't draft a backup quarterback and hopefully that bye week that your quarterback's on, he plays like the Lions or something like that, then sure, you could start Kirk Cousins, but he deserves on the free agents. He was probably in free agents literally or on the waivers all last season, so I don't expect anything else.
I have nothing to say on Kirk Cousins. He's irrelevant.
Yeah.
He's irrelevant.
Running back, Dalvin Cook, running back 3 last year, going as the 102, so that's the 2nd overall pick as the running back 2. Do you guys have
He's a dog.
He is a
an
dog.
absolute dog.
But he's bound to get hurt. I'm telling you right now.
Yes, he's very injury prone, but he's an absolute dog.
He had a full season. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be pretty.
Full season with an
I don't
asterisk,
wish
'cause
injury upon anyone, but just his history of injuries, just had a full season coming into this year. Just wait.
He did miss a game and a half last year, though, just on note.
Few running backs play every game
Right.
in the season. So I'm cool with taking Dalvin Cook with the assumption that he's going to miss 2 to 3 games, but also have, high 100-yard games.
Yeah, I mean, he's
like
a beast. He's undoubtedly the number 2 pick in fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
His handcuff, Alexander Madison, running back 54 last year. He's going at the 15th round as running back 47. 100% just a handcuff in the last round of fantasy drafts. I think he's a steal if you are the Dalvin Cook owner because you have to take him. And I just feel like I don't like drafting other people's handcuffs because they're kind of pointless. So I just feel like he's a steal if you're the Dalvin Cook owner. He's undraftable if you're not the Dalvin Cook owner.
I disagree.
I think Chris took Alexander Madison in our league and someone else had Dalvin Cook.
Speaking of the handcuff guy, I'll do that too. I don't care. You can hate me all you want. I'll take Madison, and then when Dalvin Cook goes down, I'm living large.
I'm definitely looking at Madison this year for drafts too because I'm thinking that Dalvin Cook's gonna end short for whatever reason it may be. Again, not wishing injury upon anyone. Just the history is gonna repeat itself at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to bypass the wide receivers at the moment because I want to talk about both of them a little bit more. Tight end Irv Smith, tight end 21 last year. Kyle Rudolph is gone. He's going at the end of the 15th round as the tight end 14. Do you guys want Irv Smith this year, or do you think he should be left as a streamer until he proves himself?
No, I like Irv Smith Jr. I like him. He's more of a receiving type tight end. I mean, the dude can run. He's big. And he's been up and coming the last few years, just kind of been overshadowed by Rudolph. I think he could have a big year in the tight end world, which isn't much, but
Give me Blake Jarwin. I want Blake Jarwin over Irv Smith. I mean, Irv Smith's not bad. I mean, he probably will catch a few touchdowns here and there, but I mean, the offense runs through Dalvin Cook, and it's not ran through Dalvin Cook. It's Justin Jefferson, and then touchdowns will be probably Adam Thielen. So kind of irrelevant.
I don't believe in Kirk Cousins throwing 30-plus touchdowns.
Yeah,
so for me, Irv Smith he is fair where he is, but I'm leaving him undrafted.
Yeah, same.
So now to go into the two wide receivers, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. So Jefferson finished last year as the wide receiver 6. He's now going as the 303 in the third round. Wide receiver 7 off the board. Adam Thielen, wide receiver 8 last year, but going 2 rounds later as the 505 as the wide receiver 18. Two things to note, Justin Jefferson had an amazing rookie year last year. We do remember his 2 blow-up games. So I actually, before this podcast started, I said, what if we take out those 2 big games and really only count the last 10 weeks of the season when he was fully incorporated into the offense? If you average out those 10 games to 16 games, it's only a 2-point difference. He would still have finished almost in the same exact spot he would have.
Yeah, I mean, he was disgusting last year, but I think we do have to be afraid of the sophomore slump. It's real.
Yeah, but I do. The one thing I liked about the Vikings is that they use their main guys so much that, like, I don't think it should be a concern that, like, Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson are going to regress solely because they just feed their guys. Like, when Stephon Diggs was there, I was saying that Stephon Diggs was one of the best wide receivers in the league, and I was also saying that he's one of the best route runners in the league, and I was like, no, you're crazy. Like, he's doing good on the Vikings, and then what happens? He goes over to the Bills, and now he's a second wide receiver off the board. I think it's the same thing with Justin Jefferson. It's like they're going to use him so much, and they're going to feed him 120 balls, and he's just going to end up eating this year probably like 13 touchdowns, 1,400 yards, something like that. Like, I think he has a pretty good season as long as he doesn't get hurt.
So the one guy, Adam Thielen, he's approaching that wide receiver cliff, that age where receivers
he's going to fall
off the board. He was basically at a high touchdown rate last year, which is why he was the wide receiver 8. He finished with 14 touchdowns. If you took half of those away, you get basically the wide receiver 13, which is the Robert Woods season. So my thing is, everyone's scared of Adam Thielen falling off the cliff, but he's at the back of the 5th round. Basically, if he has the same season he did this last year, take away half his touchdowns, you get Robert Woods, who's going a round and a half earlier than Adam Thielen in drafts. So even with his age, I still think he's a steal at the back of the 5th round, early 6th round.
Yeah.
Just because he scores a lot of touchdowns, and they feed touchdowns to Adam Thielen. Like, every time in the red zone, he'll get targets literally every time. Once they're like 50 to 30 yards away, that's kind of more Jefferson's territory. But once you're like 10 yards away, they throw him like goal line fades all the time. So I guess for where he's being drafted, I would say it's a steal.
Yeah, absolute steal. We know who Adam Thielen is. He has rapport with Kirk Cousins. I mean, they all have chemistry in this offense. I don't think he's going to fall off, and if he does, it's going to be minimal.
Yeah.
Move on to Team 3 in the division, the Chicago Bears. We got quarterbacks Andy Dalton and Justin Fields, running backs David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, Damian Williams in the background. Wide receivers Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Demiere Byrd. And tight ends, we got Cole Kmet, but they also still have Jimmy Graham. They just signed Jesse James. So Andy Dalton, quarterback 31, going undrafted, not even ranked, not even on the board. We're not going to talk about him. Quarterback Justin Fields, though, rookie, going in the late 7th, 8th round if you're drafted that long. So he's basically undrafted. Quarterback 19. If you want to throw him as on your draft, on your team, last pick of the draft, go ahead. Or you can just be the team to pick him right before he starts. I think he's a steal being undrafted, just with the unknown potential that late in drafts.
I like Justin Fields. I always said that I don't like Ohio State quarterbacks, but for whatever reason it is, I like how Allen Robinson is using the offense. I like how Darnell Mooney's emerging. Montgomery's a beast. I think this offense is perfect for him. And I think that whenever he does start, which will probably be week 3 when Andy Dalton doesn't prove himself and they lose by 30 points in the first 3 weeks, he'll get the starting job and probably decently fantasy relevant. Could be a beast. Could be like the next Jalen Hurts too. So you never know.
I'm just prepared for the quarterback carousel to happen this year, and then Allen Robinson's going to have a crappy year because, he's got a million different quarterbacks thrown to him and they all suck. But
Poor Allen
I would
Robinson.
just avoid that situation at all costs.
Yeah, I mean, neither of them are going drafted. That's the thing. It's gonna be Fields. It's going to be Fields. Like I know it is, but both have to go undrafted to at least start the season. I'd say.
Now to talk about a guy who's very polarizing between the two of you, David Montgomery, running back 4 last year, going at the end of the 3rd round as the 310, running back 17 off the board currently.
17, that's a steal. It's an absolute steal. He's a beast, and I mean, as bad as this Bears offense is going to be, and it was last year, David Montgomery still showed out. Still, they feed him the ball 20 plus times a game. I mean, you got to take any running back that's getting the ball that often.
There also have been reports that Matt Nagy does want to get David Montgomery 20 plus carries a game, or 20 plus touches a game, as he said. And for me, it's David Montgomery, I think, is a talented player. I just feel like the Bears, as an offensive whole, often struggle. And when they struggle, he doesn't do well, but they can beat up on bad teams real easily.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more. But even in the bad games, he still gets 20 touches, and that's 6-point dud. That's not even that bad.
No comment.
No comment. Wide receiver. Okay, so Brian, you didn't. Is he
You've heard my takes
steal?
before.
Is he a fair, or is he overdrafted at where he is?
So I'll give him fair.
You hate David Montgomery?
No, I think he's a good running back. I think you should take him.
I think you should tell it to his face.
I don't want to tell it to his face.
All right, wide receivers. Allen Robinson, wide receiver 12, going as the 406 in the 4th round. Wide receiver 11 off the board. Always somehow finishes in the wide receiver 10 to 15 range, regardless of quarterback play. Is he a steal? Is he fair? Or is he overdrafted?
I feel so bad for Allen Robinson, and I just to say that about an NFL wide receiver. But sweet God, this guy just gets the.
He's so good too.
Yeah.
It's terrible because he gets like 12 targets a game. He catches literally almost every single one of his targets, making ridiculous catches. Just has never had a good quarterback to throw. Give him Aaron Rodgers and Allen Robinson's a top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah, 100%.
Like 100%.
So what was this draft? Sorry, what
Is he a steal at the 406? Is he fair, or is he overdrafted?
Probably overdrafted considering the quarterback concern.
Overdrafted, yeah.
I do like Allen Robinson. Probably will have a decent season put together. I just don't think he's going to do what he did last year.
He'll get his 10 targets. He will.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he might only catch 2 because they're the balls
It's Andy Dalton.
freaking in the bleachers.
Andy Dalton did support 2 top 20 wide receivers last year, though.
Yes, but Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb are very good receivers, and CeeDee Lamb is like arguably the biggest sleeper in all of drafts this season.
I think if you're playing in a standard format, I'd probably avoid Allen Robinson. But if you're playing in a half PPR or full PPR, he's going to get 150 targets regardless of who the quarterback is. So he will make up his points through that method.
Agreed.
Other wide receiver you could keep in mind, Darnell Mooney, wide receiver 51, going practically undrafted in the 16th round. Wide receiver 56. Pretty much he's a sleeper in Dynasty at the moment. Pretty much won't do much for redrafts this year unless Justin Fields does decide to target him when he takes over. I think you should leave him undrafted at the moment.
I'd rather die.
Yeah.
Okay. Third guy on the team I just want to throw out because I want to see if you guys know who he is. Do you remember Demary Bird, wide receiver?
Patriots receiver.
Yeah, I think you
year?
remember him real well, right? Right, Jonathan?
No, because that was Jacoby Myers and Jarrett Stidham that did me in.
Right, okay. Sorry, I'm getting my irrelevant receivers mixed up.
Pretty much irrelevant. Just barely made it onto the draft board. Don't bother with Bird. Tight end Cole Kmet, tight end 42 last year, going undrafted as the tight end 31. I think there was hopes for him if they did cut Jimmy Graham, but instead they kept Jimmy Graham and signed Jesse James. So avoid their tight ends at all costs.
Give me Blake Jarwin.
Detroit Lions, quarterback Jared Goff, running back DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams there too. Wide receivers Brashad Perriman, Tyrell Williams, and tight end TJ Hawkinson. Jared Goff, quarterback 18 last year, pretty much going undrafted or at the back end of drafts. I think you should leave him undrafted now that he's with the Lions.
That's
Correct.
fair. I mean, would we have drafted him when he's on a good offense? No. Will we draft him when he's on a bad offense? Also no. So it's logical.
Moving on, running back DeAndre Swift, running back 18 last year, going at the 402 as the running back 18 off the board. The Lions have said they do want to feed DeAndre Swift this year. It's just the signing of Jamal Williams makes me a little bit weary of that move. I just feel like it's a lot of smoke. I also don't want a Lions running back, as you've stated plenty of times, Ryan.
Yes, I completely agree with everything you just said. I do think DeAndre Swift will get the workload. I do think DeAndre Swift is good, but I do think that game script will turn DeAndre Swift into an irrelevant fantasy player because they're going to be down by 35.
I couldn't disagree more with you.
Want the
I'm,
pass.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Passing
but
offense.
No, DeAndre Swift, as an owner last year, he is an all-around back. The man catches balls out of the backfield. He's a three-down back.
Marvin Jones, TJ Hawkinson. Now we have Jared Goff. Name me 3 Lions wide receivers.
That's true. Jared Goff does make me,
Rashad Perriman is the number 1 wide receiver on the Lions. They are the worst team in the NFL, John.
Yeah, they're terrible. I'm looking at their depth chart now.
Are ranked like the worst team in the NFL.
Okay, so I'm saying he's a little overdrafted at that spot just because of the stink of the Lions. How do you feel?
I'd take him at that spot. I mean, I think that he's literally the only guy you can go to, but I don't feel great about drafting him as my RB2. I mean, I would take him, but I'd say maybe fair. But again, you know how I feel. I'm not going to draft him, but that's just how I say it.
I'll draft him in the low rounds. I mean,
yeah, he probably won't go in that spot anyways, and drafts where people actually understand football. But for a little mock draft, I guarantee he'll probably go at that spot.
So his new handcuff, Jamal Williams, running back 39, was the pain in the butt to the Aaron Jones owners last year. Basically going in the 14th round, running back 45 off the board. Is he a valuable handcuff to you, or could it be more? I just double down, don't want the Lions running backs. I'm leaving him undrafted.
yeah, leave him there.
Yeah, I'd leave him there.
Wide receivers, Rashad Perriman, wide receiver 75 last year, undrafted as the wide receiver 81. Then Tyrell Williams did not play last year, undrafted as the wide receiver 106. And can you guys name their third wide receiver?
Quintez Cephas.
Yeah.
Oh,
looking
yeah,
at
it
it.
actually is.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Oh, okay, I was going to say.
So all of these guys are going undrafted. I feel like if I'm going to take a last round positional pick in my draft, I'm going to just throw it at Rashad Perriman to see what happens. In worst case, if I really need a wide receiver, I'll pivot to someone else in free agency.
No, Tyrell Williams is a better receiver of these two.
When was the last time Tyrell Williams played a full season?
Rashad Perriman wasn't even that bad on the Jets last year. Like, he was not good. But
Rashad
he
Perriman
was
won
pretty good.
people fantasy championships when he was on the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay, fair. All right.
Now let's talk about the main guy the only exciting player on the Lions is TJ Hawkinson, tight end 4 last year, going in the 6th round as the tight end 6. I think he is a steal at the tight end 6, just given
100 targets a game.
how many targets he'll get this season.
Goff loves his tight ends
100
because
targets
he
a game.
sucks. So.
I think TJ Hawkinson's going to be a monster, solely because of game script and solely because TJ Hawkinson's a beast. So
Yeah,
I'm all aboard.
yeah. What is it? 3rd year in the NFL now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him last year. He's a monster. He's a consistent 15 points a game.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. Just as a last bit of news, Watson talks trade halted. Texans are not returning teams' calls about quarterback Deshaun Watson with the hope he will want to stay in Houston. Houston, just let the man go.
Let him go. He doesn't want to be there. It's like
he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
But what team's gonna? They're asking for way too much for a guy who might not even be in the league in 2 weeks. So teams need to know what they're getting, and the Houston Texans needs to know that this guy could potentially not even be in the league. So just trade him away and get rid of him.
Yeah.
You guys ready to make fun of some stuff? Ready to mock draft?
Let's do it.
All right, setting up our mock draft. It's a 12-team, half PPR mock draft. Rumney has drawn the 2 spot. Me and Brian have drawn back-to-back spots. I am the 4th pick. He is the 5th pick. And our draft will begin now. We'll see what the computer goes with.
They took Dalvin Cook.
They took Dalvin Cook at the 101. So,
Wow.
John, who are you taking at the 201?
What an idiot. Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Then it went Christian McCaffrey. So, right now there is indecision with the quarterback position, but I will not be doubting the man. I'll be taking Alvin Kamara at the 104.
This is the worst pick of all time, and I don't even know who I'm gonna take. Wow. Okay.
Take Chubb or not. I would.
Oh my god. I'm not taking Jonathan Taylor. That's one. So I'm in between Chubb and Barkley. And Barkley might not even play.
I would be There's actually another guy
This is why I didn't want
prefer.
this pick. Yeah, I know. I would also probably take him, but my running backs would be terrible if I did that. God, this is just awful. Okay.
You're going to go with?
I don't like Barkley or Taylor. I'm going to take Nick Chubb.
It's a good pick.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only confident pick out of those other three.
After that, we got Taylor, Barkley, Hill, Elliott, Kelsey, Jones, Diggs rounding out the first round. Then it swings back to Metcalf, Adams, Hopkins, Eckler, Gibson, Brown, Mixon, and Brian's on the board.
We're going to take... All right. I'm going to stack up on running back because I don't feel fully confident with Chubb, but I'm feeling good about Najee's 30 carries a game this season, so I'm going to take Najee Harris.
Good pick. I'm also in the room where I really want to stack up on running backs. When Antonio Gibson, my champion, is off the board early in the second round and I'm at the end of it, there's a guy I will pass on the other options that the draft board wants me to take. I'll be taking Clyde as my second round pick because I want the upside of the Chiefs offense for his year 2 more experienced version NFL.
That was my other pick too.
Yeah.
So
All right. See, they want me to take Patty Mahomes, and that's fine. I mean, I could, but I'd much rather take Justin Jefferson.
fair pick.
And now, on the turnaround, I'll take Patty Mahomes.
So taking a quarterback early is typically not a move. So do you want to walk through why you took Patty Mahomes in round 3 as I decide who I want as my pick for my round 3?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the league. If you have, yes, so quarterback-wise, there's like 1 to 2 that are at the top, a big middle of the pack that goes in like the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, and then, or like the 5th and 6th rounds, and then just the nobodies that you're never going to play. Pat Mahomes is one of those guys that you reach for because he could change the course of the game. He could put up, 35 a game, maybe 40, maybe 50. You don't know. So I like that security blanket of Pat Mahomes as my quarterback.
So for me, sitting here in the 3rd round, there's like a handful of guys that I do like in round 3, but if I can start triple-heading like running back, that'd be preferred, but the 3 guys I'd want to do that with have already gone off the board. So I like to pick a good receiving option at this point. I want the safety net. I want the guaranteed targets. He's the number 1 weapon in his offense. I want the positional advantage of Darren Waller on my team.
Fair
enough, because Darren Waller was going to be my pick, and my next pick after that is going to be...
I'm assuming it's going to be the other guy that
it's going to be the other guy.
Terry McLaurin.
I'm loving... I see, this is exactly what I'd want in a draft where I know that I get my 2 running backs and then come back around and hoping that I can get Terry McLaurin right there because dude's just going to be an absolute monster this season.
Scary Terry's a beast.
So on the turn, we lost DeAndre Swift, Montgomery, quarterback Josh Allen, running back Josh Jacobs, wide receivers, the big names went off the board. Robinson, Evans, Julio Jones, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper right after him, back-to-back. Robert Woods, and then we got Kyler Murray, and now Brian's back at his 4th pick. Be interesting to see. On the board right now, we got suggestions for Darrell Henderson, Chris Godwin, Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, Myles Gaskin. So it'll be interesting to see who Brian goes with in round 4.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you get the 5th pick in a 12 team, you are going to be hurting really bad. I do want to take Lamar Jackson here, but I am a firm believer in drafting a quarterback late. Don't love the pick, but TB12's back, so I'm going to end up going with Godwin here.
I think people are really low on Chris Godwin just because they're scared of the wide receiver room in Tampa.
I still think he's the best wide receiver there. He gets probably the majority of the targets, and we know Mike Evans will have his games where he gets 1 point, and then Chris Godwin will have his games. I don't want Darrell Henderson. I don't want DJ Moore. And it's really just Lamar Jackson after that, but I can get some value later on with some quarterbacks.
For me, it's interesting right now because I could go with DJ Moore, who is very talented, but he just doesn't get touchdowns. The thing that scares me about him is that Sam Darnold is the worst quarterback in the red zone, so those touchdowns may not be there, even though I should be looking towards running back right now. So for me, I'm really split between what Darrell Henderson could be in the Rams offense or Myles Gaskins. And it's just hard because I know I already took my tight end, and there's not a lot of good talent out there right now. So I'm kind of like, it's the tricky part about the turn. So I think at this point in time, I think I'm going to go with DJ Moore right now and just make sure I pick another receiver that I feel comfortable with as my 2 and 3.
It doesn't feel good when DJ Moore is your number 1 receiver.
No, it doesn't. Okay. My pick now. So, I've got my team. It's spread out nicely with the RB1, wide receiver 1, the best quarterback in the league, hands down. They want me to take Darrell Henderson here, which he's the number 1 back, no? Like, what's his name got hurt
at the moment.
Yeah.
So maybe he's taking over the Cam Akers role.
Yeah, Cam Akers got hurt. That's terrible. I hate to see it. But here's the thing.
Make a smart decision.
Make the smart decision, he says. Here's the thing. Talk about handcuffs. The best handcuff in the league.
It's great.
And also, a great RB2 is Kareem Hunt. He could be a league winner if Chubb goes down.
So you're going to take, as your first, starting off the 5th round, you're going to go with us.
On the turnaround here. So I've got 2 RBs. I'm good on the RB department. See, they want me to take Mark Andrews here at the tight end position. I'm not too high on him. I don't know why. I don't have any reasoning for it. I'm just not.
Take the gasket.
But you guys thought Cooper Kupp was good before Stafford came.
Oh, I love Cooper Kupp.
How about after?
I love Cooper Kupp.
He was who I was kind of like tilting on. I was like, do I really reach for Cooper Kupp over DJ Moore? I was really hoping he'd come back to me in this round so I could do both of them as a stack together. Now I feel like I'm stuck staring at a tricky position. There are some wide receivers on the board who I don't really want to pass on. As I mentioned before, this guy could be at the end of his cliff, but he will be getting targets. I think he'll get better. He could get more targets just because all of the better coverage will be on his running mate. So I think out of these receivers, I might be going with Adam Thielen, but I really like the target share that Tyler Lockett has on the Seattle Seahawks offense.
I like that pick.
The man had 132 targets last year. I still think he's going to get the same amount because they really don't have an option behind him.
That's like me drafting Tom Brady every year. It's like
it would be a good decision.
Of course you're going to draft Lockett because you're biased.
No, the thing is, this is one of the first times I've actually taken Tyler Lockett in a fantasy draft.
Okay, all right.
I typically hope for like a Cooper Kupp in this round, or if I haven't taken Darren Waller, this is typically where I'll take a T.J. Hawkinson, or I'll reach for the quarterback that I want.
All right, so here I'm going to end up taking probably another receiver. I mean, I want to take Myles Gaskin, but I can't let these guys will not fall back around. This guy was also, in the last 7 weeks of football, was the number 3 wide receiver in the NFL, 10-plus targets a game every single time. Don't believe in his quarterback that much, but with the target share, dude's got full talent. I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson.
Interesting.
He
does get a lot of targets.
He was the number 3 wide receiver in the last 7 weeks of football.
Yeah.
He had 160 targets last year once the Steelers decided to give up on the run game. So we went running back with a 3 wide receiver stack round. It'll be interesting to see who you take in the 6th round after you just missed out on your tight end at T.J. Hawkinson, the pick before you.
I really thought he was going to fall back around. God, I could really stack up here. Okay, this is tough. Oh man, this is really bad. If I had to go with a pick here, I mean, it definitely doesn't feel good taking this player, but considering that I don't really have a lot of running backs and the hype around these Denver Broncos running backs, as you mentioned, I don't even want to do this.
The man who said, I'm not going to draft a Denver Broncos running back.
Okay, you're right, I can't. I literally can't. You're right. Okay.
Don't be nasty.
I'm not going to do it. This is like the worst pick ever. You know what? I guess we're just going to end up going with the safe play here and we're just going to take the quarterback now, and we're going to go with Russ. I don't even feel good about it. I don't even know what I would do in this situation, but I'm going to take Russell
We've
Wilson.
discussed it. I feel like Russ is Mr. Inconsistent. You're really going with Russell Wilson.
There is nothing I can do in this pick where it's overpicked, or I have to take someone like Chase Claypool when I already have Deontay Johnson, or T. Higgins when Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd are both on the team. It's like there's nothing I can really do in that situation other than that.
For me, I don't really believe in Chase Claypool's breakout, mainly just because Big Ben couldn't throw deep last year. I don't see him starting to throw deep this year. I don't want to deal with T. Higgins. I feel like Jamar Chase is going to be the number one in that offense. I'm going to reach on this pick because there's two guys that I really want right now that I typically take around these picks. I was going to reach on this pick, So me and Brian both know who this guy is. I'm going to be taking Robbie Anderson at the end of the 6th round.
I was going to reach there too. I thought he was going to get picked though. I thought he was actually going to fall back around, but then I realized that everyone was just terrible. So I knew one of you guys were going to take him.
He's a good player.
He is a good player.
Now me. So I've got my quarterback. I got 2 running backs, 2 receivers. Need a tight end. And luckily, my boy Noah Fant has fallen. I'm reaching for him. So
reaching all the way for Noah Fant in round 6.
Yep.
Shocking.
He's 3rd year in the league. He's a good tight end, and like I said before, I'm kind of a believer in the Broncos offense this year. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
You're up again.
Yes. Now I'm stuck.
We're in the range of just questionable running backs.
Questionable.
Got some mid-range tight ends, but you already took one. We got some questionable. There's some diamonds in the roughs at wide receiver if you know who you really want. We're taking shots of faith at this point. You've already gone quarterback early and tight end early, so you are hurting at your depth for wide receiver and running back.
Yep. You're not wrong there. I'm reaching for Tyler Boyd. I like Tyler Boyd. He's been on the up and coming the last few years. He gets a ton of targets. AJ Green's finally out of there, no?
He is. AJ Green is gone.
Cardinals.
Yeah, he's out. I mean, so give him his touches. He's got rapport with what's his face that shattered his leg last year, Burrow. So I think we'll be in good shape.
I'm sitting here at a really tough decision because I was expecting Javonte Williams to be gone. My biggest thing is I don't really trust the Broncos offense that we've always been mentioning. Like, he could be a great sleeper at this point. He would be sitting on my bench as a depth piece. But I have been going to Patriots camp for the past 2 weeks to take photos. And I'm thinking if Mac Jones does take over, this one player who's going as running back 32 off the board right now, who was great between the 20s last year, I think he'd be a great goal line back if Mac Jones takes over so we don't have the vulture of Cam Newton. And right now, I'm going with Damian Harris as my RB3 to just be a safe play if I need to do something if Kamara and Clyde are not in the game.
I'm cool with that.
Okay. Well, considering I don't like Javonte Williams and he still hasn't been picked till this point.
He is a round later now.
Says something. Ronald Jones is not even the starting running back on his team. David Johnson is on a football team that shouldn't even be considered a football team. So I almost have to just go wide receiver here because I'm going to stretch on a tight end later. Don't like DJ Chark. Already have Deontay Johnson. Not going to take Juju. You know my feelings about Deebo Samuel. So now it's down to Jerry Jeudy and Devonta Smith. I like Devonta Smith in his breakout, but I also love how I'm thinking Jerry Jeudy came from the same college as Calvin Ridley. Is arguably better than Calvin Ridley was. And I think he'll probably end up having a pretty good season this year. I'm going to end up taking Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy had the most uncatchable targets last year.
Yes. I think that Bridgewater, if he does start, will make him a little bit better. And Robbie Anderson was a beast. So you put, Robbie Anderson, Jerry Jeudy kind of the same level. You bring in Bridgewater, game scripted offense. I think he does pretty well this year.
So it's now come back to you. We saw Juju Smith-Schuster go off the board, Javonte Williams, Ronald Jones, Dallas Goedert. Then we had a small quarterback run in Rodgers and Brady, followed by DJ Chark, Zach Moss, Will Fuller, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurts, David Johnson, Trey Sermon, Matthew Stafford, and now it's back to you, Brian.
All right, here I really would like to take Michael Carter. and I need a running back really badly. My only concern about Michael Carter is that they have 5 running backs that are rostered on the Jets right now. I think Michael Carter is a beast. I think he's going to be great. One of the biggest sleepers, just coming off of being a great rookie. But, I mean, Leonard Fournette is still going to get his workload in that offense. It doesn't feel good taking him. However, I had Leonard Fournette in my fantasy league, and he still puts up numbers, still scores touchdowns. I think that's probably the safest play here.
And I'm glad you went with Leonard Fournette because I thought you were going to be taking him with the way you were talking him up because I really want Michael Carter with that breakout potential on the Jets.
See, I don't see. You already have 3 running backs, so I needed to take a running back that I knew was going to put up points. I couldn't hope that Michael Carter was going to be that guy.
That's a fair value. I just feel like Ronald Jones is the starter and Leonard Fournette is the 1B.
That's tough for debate. They split time, but Ronald Jones fumbles the ball too. I mean, in the passing downs, Ronald Jones literally is irrelevant in passing plays. So it's all Fournette. Well, now they actually have Giovanni Bernard too, but we don't know how relevant he's going to be this season.
All right, John, looking at your team right now, on the board, I feel like you're still building depth because you win the individual players first. What's going through your mind right now looking at the draft board?
I want to throw up.
It's pretty bad. You could take Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I mean, I could, but I hate him. Here's what I'm going to do. I mean, it's kind of against the grain here, and I honestly don't. I'm doing this for leverage, okay? So I already have a tight end, and within Noah Fant, he's not a top 5 guy. He's not a top 3 guy or anything like that. So when I have a guy like that, it's like, okay, I'd like to have a backup that I'd like to be able to, match up play a little bit. If he gets hurt, I'm not totally screwed. And I have some leverage if one of them or both of them show out and I can trade away. So I'm going to take Logan Thomas here. And I also like Logan Thomas. I mean, the dude's versatile. And he had a good year last year. So
it's a good pick because Berkey was going to take him with his next pick.
They also did just sign Logan Thomas to a longer deal too.
I like Logan Thomas.
My biggest thing is Ryan Fitzpatrick has never in his career ever utilized his tight end. The few years he was fantasy relevant for his players, he was on the Jets and they did not have a tight end to throw to, so that could be a little asterisk out there. Right now, the best tight end was Mike Gesicki when Gesicki finished as tight end 11. So I'm pumping the brakes on how I feel about Logan Thomas. I don't think he's going to do what he did last year, but he could still easily be a top 10 wide receiver with the way Fitzpatrick likes to throw deep.
Fair point.
All right, friends, it's handcuff time again. So looking at my lineup here, again, I'm kind of going for depth here. I have a quarterback, 2 RBs, 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, and my flex. It's still too early to go with a kicker and a defense. If you go for a kicker and a defense in this round, I hate you. I'm going with A.J. Dillon here. Just a stash, and if Aaron Jones misses any games, he's an automatic RB1.
Fair point.
So I haven't gotten the late quarterback strategy. I would have taken him around earlier, but I knew John already had a quarterback. Team 1 and Team 3 both took quarterbacks early, so I know they wouldn't be looking for a quarterback at the moment, so I could play the ADP game. I would be taking Ryan Tannehill late in the 9th round.
Interesting pick.
See, I like Ryan Tannehill because he's got some sneaky legs. They just added Julio Jones to their offense. Derrick Henry makes the defense have to react to the run game, and Ryan Tannehill can crush into play action. And their terrible defense means they have to keep scoring points in games. So Ryan Tannehill, whether you don't believe in his actual NFL talent or not, will be fantasy relevant.
No, yeah, that's a really good pick.
That's that pick.
Yeah, that's the great example of picking a quarterback very late, building up your depth beforehand, and then picking a quarterback that will actually be good. So.
Okay. Well, this leads me to not a lot of options here. Like, very minimal options. We are getting down to the thick of it. I mean, if I don't take this guy, which I almost have to because all the other running backs just fall off after this.
We got 6 more rounds left, Brian.
I know, but the running backs are very, very bad after this. So
Taking the man of glass?
I'm going to take the man of glass. Probably not even the starter, too. And I've already told you my hatred for this guy, but I still think he might have a little bit left in this
You hate
high-powered
James
offense.
Conner?
I do hate him, but I'm going to take him anyways. This is the worst pick in a 12 team. You get 5th, you're done. You already lost. I mean, I don't hate my team. It's just that it's very difficult to pick in these
I
situations.
guarantee you there will be champions out there.
Probably.
Five pick.
Very minimal.
If you are a listener out there and if you win in the
Wow.
5 pick, I want you calling in.
All these tight ends actually ended up going. I thought Gesicki, Tanyan, and
You thought they couldn't be there for
I
you?
thought they were going to be there for me. That's crazy. Okay.
All right, after Brian's James Conner pick, we saw Chanel, Landry, Waddle go off the board. Then we had a run of tight ends where we saw Gesicki, Tanyan, Gronk, and Irv Smith go. And a little group of wide receivers, Antonio Brown, Mike Williams, Corey Davis, Hollywood Brown, and Michael Pittman. And we're back to Brian in the middle of the 10th round.
Who are you going to take at tight end now? Because you don't have a tight end either. So if I take Tyler Higbee here, you're kind of...
I don't have a tight end, Brian.
Oh, do you have a tight end? Oh, maybe. You do have Darren Waller. True. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to go with Tyler Higbee here. I really thought that Gesicki, Tanyan, or Irv Smith were going to fall back, but apparently this app hates me. So I'm going to end up taking Tyler Higbee. Don't feel bad about it. I like Stafford. I think that he still does pretty well in this offense. He fed Hawkinson when he was on the Lions, too. So expect the same with Higbee.
Again, anyone on the Rams offense is getting a boost this year.
Yeah, considering your comment earlier, right?
So the reason why I love the draft strategy I chose is I now basically have my full starting lineup. I'm just going for depth. I'm happy with my running backs. I'm just going to be taking shots in the dark at a wide receiver, just hoping for a breakout guy. And with Amari Cooper nursing an injury right now, maybe that gets better. If maybe it gets worse, but I think a really great handcuff wide receiver to really just be on note of in this late in drafts is Michael Gallup.
Nice.
After that, Team 3 took Henry Ruggs, and we're back to John Rumney on the board.
We're back. All right. What am I going to do here? Oh, God. We've got Jamal Williams here on the board. Way too high up here. I said I'd rather die than take Darnell Mooney, so I can't take
Speaking through, so looking at the board, John, you could be taking, this is the handcuff area, but the thing is you have a running back who really doesn't have a handcuff. Derrick Henry, doesn't matter who's behind him, it's not going to get the same production if he goes down. Your RB2 is already a handcuff. Your RB3 is also a handcuff. So you could be looking at, you are the handcuff man right now, as you did mock one of our other league members for earlier. So there are almost no options for you to get a starting running back at this point. So you could be taking a shot at wide receiver, maybe a breakout player. You could be, you have Patrick Mahomes, so there's no point in taking a potential breakout quarterback. So I feel like your best bet is to take your favorite shots in the dark at the wide receivers left on the board.
I would take Marvin Jones.
I was just thinking Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones, the beast.
I mean, yeah, he's getting old though, but now
if
he's
we
on
were
a new
actually
team.
drafting, I wouldn't have said anything because I would hope that he comes back around so I could take him. But for the sole purposes of a mock draft, I would say take Marvin Jones.
Yeah, I'm taking Marvin Jones for the reason he's on a new team and yeah, he's getting older, but
They paid him the money to be there. They needed a compliment. They saw last year that the offense can't win with just DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. Marvin Jones, they brought in to be another important piece of that offense. At the 10th round, he is a great pick there, as he's always been for his ADP.
mm-hmm.
So now we're back to you again, because the curse of the turnaround. So you're now stuck in a similar position.
It's a blessing and a curse. Here's what I'm gonna do.
How many picks do we have left? 3?
Wow, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith are all the way down here.
It is the curse of being two talented tight ends on the same team with a quarterback no one has faith in. I believe that one of them will have relevance if Mac Jones does take over and needs that safety blanket because they are the premier pass catchers in that offense at the moment. I just don't have faith in Cam Newton throwing a lot to his players, even though they're trying to change the offense to almost fit Cam Newton's play style, but we'll see how long that lasts and if he can even hold on to the starting job past week 5.
How many picks do we have left? 5?
Right now we're at a week. We're going into the 15th round, so we have 3 more skill position picks, and then be the
And then
defense and the kicker.
Okay.
So I couldn't even pick a defense and a kicker right now if I
You
wanted
could
to?
if you wanted to pick it early, but
Oh, I see.
most players aren't wait till the last 2 picks to pick those positions, but you could pick one early if there's one you really want and start the run.
So here's the thing. We're in the final rounds. I have no fear being the first to take a kicker or defense. All right? Like, these are all waiver wire guys anyways. So, I'm going to take Justin Tucker. Why? Because the man is the best kicker in the league, and he'll kick 50-yard field goals on the regular. Give me a good kicker.
I'm Team Harrison Bucker.
Sure enough, there are 2 players left on the board that I actually do want on my team, and there is a 3rd player that I know I need to draft just based on the way I mentally like the draft teams. So with the way his ADP works, I will be taking this individual player right now. I will be taking Latavius Murray as my handcuffed Alvin Kamara. In case something does happen in the situation where Kamara goes down, I want the insurance policy on my team already and not have to try to fight for him off of waivers.
It's a good pick. We're really getting down to the nitty gritty here.
There's 2 guys left on my board that I would love for both of them to come back to me, but I don't think they will. But if you take one of them, I can't wait to talk about them.
Okay. Well, I don't love Devin Singletary. Tony Pollard's definitely one of the best handcuffs out there, but I already have 4 running backs, so I almost need to stack on my receivers at this point because I only have 4 of them. I'd like to take at least 1 more. And with this pick, it's a little bit of a stretch, and I think you've talked about him before. But with Julio Jones out of office over there, I'm gonna stretch on this. But I'm gonna take Russell Gage here.
That's one of the guys I wanted. I don't think it's a stretch, even though everyone is starting to look at
The wide receiver 2, filling in Calvin Ridley's role from last year, has already proven himself. People start him in fantasy leagues last year. Let alone people will probably start him this year with no Julio Jones.
After him, as you look to make your second pick, we got Tony Pollard, Devontae Parker, Devin Singletary, Matt Ryan, Jamal Williams, Justin Fields, Hunter Henry, Baker Mayfield, Rashad Bateman, McCole Hardman, Philip Lindsay, Aguilar, Elijah Moore, T.Y. Hilton, and back to you in the 12th round, Brian.
This is bad. This is really bad. All right, well, we're gonna go for it, and we're gonna take the handcuff. We're gonna go with Madison, and just pray that Dalvin Cook goes down, like I'm predicting.
That's so mean.
I said I don't wish injury upon anyone. But
yeah, but that's this whole show. You're like, Dalvin Cook's gonna go down.
He might. I don't know. I hope he doesn't.
Just building on depth, since both the guys I really wanted both went off the board, I will be taking a great PPR guy. Also a great half PPR guy. I think he's the number 2 wide receiver in his offense. I'll be taking Cole Beasley at the end of this draft.
Love Cole Beasley.
Yeah, he's a good player. All right. So I got my kicker. Still going to go for a little bit of depth here. I like Christian Kirk a lot, so I'm going to take him. He's a deep threat on a pretty high-powered offense at this point. And
damn, Trotman really just got to
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. So before you really get into it, John.
Stop. No.
Me and Brian are both all aboard the Saints tight end. We like to go out to the lake. We like to go fishing, catch a little trout. Adam Troutman could project to be the number 1 target at this point, or even number 2 target in the Saints offense.
Damn.
And is one of the diamonds in the roughs of the very tight end late dry.
Trotman is a sleeper tight end, and if you can get your hands on him in drafts, please take him.
All right. Backup quarterback time. Taking Trey Lance because Jimmy Garoppolo is a absolute, what's the word I'm looking for? Stiff. That's what he is.
I thought Deshaun Watson was probably a good pick right there.
Yeah, if he plays.
If he plays. It's no shot he plays.
So right now, looking at what's left on the board, I don't feel great. I really don't want this man on my team at all, but with the way the draft has gone, there's only no skill positional players left that I really want. I might end up taking him just because looking at this board. Actually, I think with this pick, someone we talked about earlier, or I'm just going to throw him on my team just as like you shouldn't be drafting him before this round. This is the last round you'd be taking this player. There's a lot of smoke around him. He's in a high-powered offense, the number 2 option. I'm going to throw AJ Green on my bottom of my bench just to see.
Yeah, I'm okay with
first
AJ Green.
1 or 2 weeks to see if he's relevant at all, and then I can cut him and feel nothing.
No strings attached, says Berkey.
I took Ryan Suckup as a kicker because usually the last player you draft in a 12-team league will probably end up on the waiver wire after week 1 anyways. So I'm going to go with the kicker here and get my guy in a high-powered scoring offense who was a beast last year. I do like
Butker?
I like Bucker.
Oh. Okay.
But I went with Suckup because I like the Bucks offense and they score a lot of
I
points.
was going to say, you got picked the
You're real suck up right there, Brad.
Yeah, you're a real suck up.
Well, a lot of defenses are starting to go now, and honestly, I don't know who to take. I got to do some research on the defenses and who has the easiest schedules here and there. But for years to come, the purple and black team has always had a great defense. So I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens here and hope that they have an easy schedule. I don't even know yet.
They have the second hardest schedule in the NFL.
See, now I wouldn't take that pick if I knew this.
Too bad you can't take it back.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
I'm going to go with a player that kicks a lot of field goals because his team is good, but they can't score touchdowns. And I'm surprised you didn't take him as your kicker, Brian. But I'll be taking Jason Sanders from the Miami Dolphins.
I love Jason Sanders. I love Bucker and Sanders. Those are my guys.
So what made you go suck up over those two?
I'm a firm believer in a lot of points scored. I think that the Chiefs, as a Bucker owner, I love Bucker. However, the Chiefs scored way too many touchdowns. Is this PG-13 for the podcast?
You could say butts.
Yeah, that's true.
You butthead.
No, I like Bucker, but the Chiefs scored too many touchdowns, and I think that the Bucks are a much safer team, so they're not afraid to kick field goals. Patrick Mahomes will be 4th and 20, and they'll probably still go for it. So that's the only reason why I'm leaning towards suck up over Bucker.
All right, Johnny, went kicker. So you're basically looking at your last skill positional player or defense up this round.
Taking New England Patriots on a run-heavy team. That's they got a good defense as it is, and they run the ball, control the ball. They're gonna get their turnovers. I like the Patriots defense this year.
For me, at this point, I typically like to stream my defense. And I just need to look at week 1 schedules to see who has the best matchup for week 1.
Can I take Brandon Bolden with my last pick?
You could.
My last pick.
He's literally the last ranked running back on the list.
Who is it?
Brandon Bolden.
He looks really good in camp. I swear.
Terrell Pryor is the last wide receiver. Wow.
Give me Brian Edwards on the Raiders.
Are we taking legit picks here?
Yeah.
These are just shot in the dark guys that you don't care for whatsoever. Can easily be cut, could blow up into something. I'm still trying to figure out who I'd want as my week 1 defense. There's really nothing left of relevance on the board. Have no idea. The problem is all these teams I left that could be good defenses have really just terrible matches to start off. So I'm just going to go with the Colts. I know they're playing the Seahawks first. I'm just doing this to get the draft going with. I do not recommend playing the Colts defense versus Russell Wilson in week 1, though.
I took Jared Cook with my last pick. Good Chargers offense this season. Looking forward to it.
So just running through our teams real quick. John, as the second pick, want to run through your team?
Sure. I'd be happy to. Derrick Henry with the number 2 pick. I don't have to explain myself there. Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes, Kareem Hunt, Cooper Kupp, Noah Fant, Tyler Boyd, Lance Thomas, A.J. Dillon, Marvin Jones, Justin Tucker.
Logan Thomas?
Logan Thomas, whatever.
Or do you have Lance Thomas and
Trey Lance mixed up? Whatever. Yeah. Leave me alone. Marvin Jones, Justin Tucker, Christian Kirk, Trey Lance, New England Patriots, and then Brian Edwards. I am happy with my team, and this is a championship team, even though we won't get to play it out.
being the 4th pick, I went with Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my running backs. Then I had Damian Harris, Michael Carter, and Latavius Murray as my backup handcuff RBs. Went DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, Robbie Anderson, Michael Gallup, Cole Beasley, AJ Green at wide receiver. My regret is I don't really like having two receivers on the same team. I probably would have rathered Cooper Kupp instead of DJ Moore. I just don't want to be sitting there each week saying, do I want DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson in my lineup? I went with the positional advantage of Darren Waller as my tight end in round 3. I really look at him as my wide receiver 1. Finished as the top 2 tight end last year. He would have been the wide receiver 8. So for me, if there's 7 or 8 wide receivers already off the board, I love taking Darren Waller here because he's the wide receiver 1 on his team. Then I went the late round quarterback with Ryan Tannehill. I think he's the last kind of stop for quarterbacks on my list. I don't want anyone beyond him. If I go late quarterback, I will take him in the 8th round if the teams next to me don't have a quarterback yet.
My team, I was indecisive because I had to choose between Jonathan Taylor, Barkley, and Chubb. I thought the safest option was definitely Chubb there. Then I had to go with Najee Harris. I mean, I like Najee and Clyde. I see them as pretty equal right now. I just think that Najee Harris is actually going to get 30 carries a game because the Steelers love to feed their running back. So I'm all aboard him. He's awesome Alabama running back. Then I went with my 4 great wide receivers and McLaurin, Godwin, Deontay, and Jerry Jeudy, which I do love because I think they get a ridiculous amount of targets and they're all very talented players. Then I went with the okay pick with Russell Wilson. I mean, you never know. He's going to drop 40 or he could drop 7 points. You really don't know. I'm going to win the games when he drops 40 points. And then the team kind of just dies down a little bit after that with Fournette and Connor are decent backup running backs. Kind of feeling good about Tyler Higbee because I think that offense can be really good. Stafford, targeted TJ Hawkinson when he was on the Lions. Probably should expect the same for Tyler Higbee to, be a little bit better this year. I like Russell Gage with that pick. Again, he's filling over the Calvin Ridley role in Atlanta. Took the Dalvin Cook handcuff with Madison, and then I took Ryan Suckup, the Ravens defense, and Jared Cook, just in case Tyler Higbee is a complete dud.
So let us know how you guys feel about our drafts. Let us know which team did the best, which team did the worst in the comment section below. If you made it this far through the podcast, make sure to listen to us and follow or subscribe to us. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and then Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. As always, mock draft, pay attention to the news, monitor camp injuries. Figure out if what coaches are saying are true, follow the money, see who's getting the first team reps. And as always, boys, cheers.
Cheers.